Amidst the hustle and bustle of everyday life and the complexities of modern existence, many of us find ourselves fighting a silent yet intense battle, the battle of the mind. Thoughts swirl like storms, bringing insecurities, fears, and uncertainties that can easily cloud our vision and divert us from the path we wish to follow. It is in this scenario that Psalm 27 presents itself as a beacon, inviting us to trust in the light, in the salvation, and in the protection that only God can offer. The psalmist, in writing these words, was aware of the challenges that each of us faces. He lived through times of persecution and anguish, yet his trust in God never wavered. This trust is not a mere abstraction. It is a deep yearning for an intimate relationship with the Creator. When he states that the Lord is my light and my salvation, he is not merely proclaiming a theological truth, but sharing a personal experience that resonates in the life of anyone who has ever felt lost or threatened. Imagine for a moment being amidst a dense fog. Every step you take is uncertain, and the view of the path ahead is almost non-existent. This is the feeling that many face when waking up to a new day, carrying worries and anxieties. The divine light mentioned in the psalm not only dissipates this fog, but illuminates every step we choose to take. It is an invitation to move forward with courage and clarity, knowing that God's protection envelops us like a mantle. The story of a woman named Maria illustrates this point well. She had always been an optimistic person, but after losing her job, she began to be consumed by negative thoughts. Nights became long and days felt heavy. It was in a moment of despair that she decided to open her Bible and came across Psalm 27. Upon reading about the protection and salvation that God offers, Maria felt a wave of peace flood her heart. Not that the problems had disappeared, but the certainty that she was not alone strengthened her. This trust led her to seek new opportunities, and soon after, she found a job that not only met her financial needs but also made her feel fulfilled. Trusting in God does not exclude fear. Rather, it teaches us to face it. The psalmist acknowledges the existence of fear but invites us to remember that God's presence is greater than any challenge. It is in vulnerability that we find strength, and it is in the certainty that God is our protection that we can rise and continue the journey. Building a solid relationship with God is fundamental to overcoming the battles of the mind. In a world full of distractions, it is easy to set aside moments of prayer and reflection. However, the pursuit of God should not be seen as a task, but as an opportunity for connection. Prayer is a sincere dialogue where we can share not only our doubts, but also our hopes and dreams. When we pray, we are not just asking for help. We are opening ourselves to receive the wisdom and direction that comes from Him. The story of João, a young man who always felt lost amidst life's expectations, exemplifies this search well. After living for years without purpose, he decided to dedicate his mornings to reading the scriptures and praying. What began as an uncomfortable routine soon transformed into a sacred space. Through reading, João began to better understand the nature of God and recognize His presence in every aspect of life. He learned that the relationship with God is not something to be done only in times of crisis, but a daily commitment that brings peace and clarity. This intimate relationship is what prepares us to face the challenges that life imposes on us. The certainty that God is by our side, listening to our pleas and guiding our steps, provides us with a peace that transcends understanding. It is in this space of trust that we are able to cultivate hope, even when circumstances seem adverse. However, life is not made up solely of instant victories. Perseverance is a virtue that many of us need to develop. Waiting on the Lord, as Psalm 27 teaches us, is not an easy task, especially in times of difficulty. Modern society has taught us to desire immediate results, but faith teaches us that often the greatest fruits come from patience and trust in a time greater than our own. The story of Anna, a woman who struggled for years to have a child, illustrates this perseverance. After several failed attempts, she found herself in a place of despair and doubt. However, instead of succumbing to discouragement, she decided to wait on the Lord. Through constant prayer and a deeper relationship with God, Anna found comfort and strength. The wait became a journey of discovery and personal growth. Eventually, she received the blessing she so desired, but more importantly, she transformed in the process. Reflecting on these stories and on Psalm 27 leads us to understand that the battle of the mind begins even before the day breaks. The way we face our fears, the depth of our relationship with God, and the strength of our perseverance determine not only how we confront challenges, but also how we live each day. The invitation is clear: trust, seek, and persevere. When we do this, we find not only the light and salvation that God offers, but also the strength to overcome the battles that arise in our path. Trusting in God, when genuine, transforms the way we face the difficulties of everyday life. Psalm 27, with its powerful message, teaches us that even amidst storms we can find refuge in the divine presence. It is in this sacred space that we find the courage to face the shadows that threaten to surround us. When we recognize God as our light, we are able to dispel the darkness of doubt and fear, allowing a new perspective to establish itself in our lives. Imagine a moment when you find yourself facing an insurmountable challenge. The pressure seems unbearable and anxiety begins to invade your mind. It is at this moment that trust in God becomes an essential pillar. Instead of allowing yourself to be consumed by panic, you can remember that true protection does not come from our own strength, but from the constant presence of God. This trust is not a denial of the difficulties we face, but an affirmation that, regardless of what happens, we are not alone. When we seek God in prayer, we develop a dialogue that goes beyond mere words. It is a relationship that deepens as we surrender ourselves. When reading the scriptures, we are not just absorbing information, we are allowing divine truth to penetrate our being. This personal interaction provides us with a new lens through which to observe the world around us. For example, by meditating on passages that speak of God's protection and presence, we can find a renewed sense of peace that helps us face uncertainty with serenity. Prayer in this context becomes an act of surrender and trust. When we speak to God, we are not just asking for help. We are opening our hearts and allowing Him to guide us. A practical example of this can be found in the life of someone who, in the face of losing a job, turns to prayer, seeking not only to understand the situation, but also to find peace amidst despair. This person begins to realize that even in the absence of material security, God's presence is an unwavering resource. This new perspective allows them to seek opportunities they would not have considered before, leading them down a path of rediscovery and growth. The pursuit of a relationship with God also involves moments of silence and reflection. Sometimes the best way to connect is simply to stop and listen. In a world full of distractions, finding a space to quiet oneself can be challenging. But it is in this silence that we often find the answers we seek. An example of this is the practice of biblical meditation, where someone sits in a quiet place and focuses on a passage, allowing the words to resonate in their heart. This practice not only brings clarity but also a renewed sense of purpose. As we deepen this relationship, perseverance becomes a natural consequence. Life is filled with ups and downs, and the ability to maintain faith in times of adversity is crucial. Instead of becoming discouraged by obstacles, we can remember that hope is an anchor for the soul. In situations where everything seems lost, the expectation that God is working in our favor can sustain us. Consider someone facing a challenging medical diagnosis. This person, instead of succumbing to despair, turns to the hope that comes from your faith. She begins to visualize a future where healing is possible, and this perspective not only improves her emotional state, but also motivates her to seek treatments and engage in activities that promote health. Perseverance in this context is not just passive resistance. It is a proactive action that feeds on the confidence that God is by her side, working for good. Hope, in its essence, is an invitation for us not to give up. It is a reminder that difficulties are temporary, and that with God's help we can overcome any barrier. In moments of discouragement, it is essential to surround ourselves with people who also share this faith. Mutual encouragement can be a powerful fuel for perseverance. A group of friends who gather to pray and share faith experiences can become a support network, where each one strengthens the other in daily battles. Furthermore, it is important to remember that hope is not a passive expectation. It requires action. When we decide to wait for the Lord, we are not just waiting for things to change. We are actively engaging in the process, seeking opportunities, learning, and growing. This leads us to a state of alertness and readiness, where we are open to new possibilities that may arise from unexpected situations. As we reflect on these concepts, it is evident that trust, the pursuit of a deep relationship with God, and perseverance are interconnected. Each one feeds and strengthens the others, creating a virtuous cycle that empowers us to face life's challenges with courage and faith. Thus, as we wake up each day, we have the opportunity to win the battle of the mind before the day begins. By remembering that God is our light and salvation, we are called to live with renewed expectation, ready to embrace what the day holds for us. The journey may be full of challenges, but with trust in God, a continuous pursuit of His presence, and a firm determination to persevere, we are capable of facing any storm that approaches. Therefore, as we look to the horizon, may we always remember that regardless of the circumstances, we are more than conquerors. In every battle, there is an opportunity for growth and transformation, and in every challenge, a chance to experience the depth of God's love and protection in our lives. In our daily lives, we are bombarded by challenges that can shake our confidence and lead us to a state of despair. However, it is precisely in these moments that we can apply the teachings of Psalm 27 in a practical way. The first application is to cultivate a daily space for meditation and prayer. Set aside a few minutes in the morning, before the worries of the day begin to take over your mind. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and seek God's presence. This small routine can create a foundation of peace that will accompany you throughout the day. Imagine starting your morning by remembering that God is your light. By doing this, you are arming yourself against the darkness that tries to infiltrate your mind. Instead of allowing fear and anxiety to dominate you, choose to affirm the truth that God is your salvation. This practice of declaration can be done aloud or in silence, but the important thing is that you believe the words you are speaking. By affirming your trust in God, you are building a fortress in your mind where doubts and fears have no space. Another practical application is getting involved in a faith community. When we surround ourselves with people who share our beliefs and seek the same light, we find support and mutual encouragement. Participate in prayer groups or Bible studies. These moments are not just occasions for learning, but also opportunities to strengthen bonds and share experiences. The love and solidarity that arise from these interactions are powerful antidotes to discouragement. When a member of the community faces difficulties, collective support becomes a living testimony of God's protection in action. Additionally, the practice of gratitude is a powerful tool for keeping the mind focused on God's promises. Instead of listing the problems before you, start listing the blessings you have already received. It can be something simple like a sunny day, a smile from a friend, or the health of your family. This shift in perspective not only illuminates your mind but also your soul. Gratitude reminds us that even amidst storms, there is always something to be thankful for. It becomes a constant reminder that God is present in every detail of our lives. Waiting for the Lord is a central theme in times of uncertainty. However, this waiting should not be passive. Get involved in activities that connect you even more to God and His promises. For example, if you are waiting for an answer to a specific prayer, consider engaging in some form of service to others. This not only occupies your mind, but also transforms your waiting into action. By helping others, you may see God's hand at work, and this reinforces your faith that He is working in your life. Finally, reading the scriptures should be a vital part of your daily routine. It is not just about reading, but about meditating and applying biblical principles to your daily life. Choose a verse from Psalm 27 and reflect on it throughout the week. Ask yourself how that verse applies to your current circumstances. How can God's presence change your perspective on a specific situation? This exercise not only increases your knowledge but also transforms your mind, helping it align with divine truths. Life is full of ups and downs, but how we react to these challenges defines our journey. Remember that we all face mental battles. The important thing is to know that we are not alone in this fight. When you feel overwhelmed, turn to God and trust in His protection. Acknowledge that the battle may be difficult, but the victory has already been won through faith. At the end of each day, take time to reflect on your experiences. Ask yourself, how did God manifest in my life today? What were the moments when I felt His presence? This practice of reflection not only helps strengthen your faith, but also prepares you for the next day. As you go to bed, you can surrender to rest with the assurance that regardless of the challenges that await you, God is your light and your salvation. Life is a journey marked by challenges, but also by opportunities for spiritual growth. By applying these principles in your life, you become a light in the midst of darkness, an example of faith and hope for those around you. Believe that by facing your mental battles with God by your side, you will not only find victory, but also inspire others to seek that same peace and confidence. The promise that God is always with us, guiding, protecting, and strengthening, is a truth we must embrace daily. May we therefore live with this certainty in our hearts, facing each new day with courage and renewed faith. The battle of the mind is real, but the victory has already been secured. Allow this truth to transform your life and your way of seeing the world.